Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Kia Sangria, and thank you so much for joining me back on my channel today. Today we have a very special video because this is my Valentine's Day sewing video, but also this is my first creator collaboration of this year. And for this video and for this project, I am collaborating with the talented cosplayer Mira Scarlett. I've actually been following Mira for a while. I first discovered her on YouTube, and then I found her across all of her other socials. Really love all of the things that she makes. She not only makes costumes, she also makes really cool fashion pieces. This video here is one of my favorites, and I'll leave it down in the description box below. Definitely check that out because this project was very cute to follow along with, and I think you're gonna like her stuff too. She's absolutely amazing. I decided after my latest collaboration with Celestial Orchid that I wanted to do a little bit more creative collaborations with other cosplayers and makers going into 2023, and so I reached out to Mira, I think back in November or December, and I said, hey look, I would really love to do some more joint cosplays and creative projects via YouTube with other creators. So I don't know where you are with YouTube right now or if you'd be interested, but here's an idea I had. I wanted to make dresses for Valentine's Day, not necessarily Valentine's Day theme, at least for me. I wanted my dress to be Valentine's Day theme, but I was like, we can take this pattern right here and we just basically create the same dress but in our own individual style, and we make a video on it, and that's it. So to get started, I'm actually going to go ahead and take out my pattern paper and trace over it. My friend on Twitter got me into this, and so now every time I make something new, instead of cutting into the actual pattern, I actually just trace over it with tracing paper, which is an extra step that I hate, but it is so worth it when I'm really trying to preserve a pattern that may or may not eventually go out of print. So I just take my time and I trace out the size that I need, and I work off of the traced pattern. And it's a lot easier than cutting, but it is an extra step, and honestly sometimes I want to skip it, but I've been doing it for so long that I can't stop anymore. So I literally just trace it out onto pattern paper, mark all the pieces by which piece they are, and I also transfer all the markings so I know where to cut little notches in my fabric. Board, and I just flatten the pieces a little bit more so that when I lay them on top of my fabric, they lay correctly and I don't accidentally cut something too small or too big. Then I'm taking my electric scissors and I'm just cutting out all of the pattern pieces. I have to say, my electric scissors was the best purchase that I've ever made. I barely use my regular scissors for cutting out fabric anymore. It's just so much easier and way more precise. So now it's time to start putting this dress together. I'm working on the bodice first, and this bodice has two layers, which is the red layer and then the lining. Everything that I do for the red layer, I'm going to also do the same thing for the lining as well when it comes to sewing. And to sew this piece, I am using my Brother LB500S embroidery and sewing machine, but I am using the sewing machine feature today. So this dress comes together pretty easy. A lot of the steps that you see me doing now is me just doing some stay stitching to keep the curves from stretching while I'm putting it together. But this is very straightforward if you've ever sewn a sweetheart bodice before. A sweetheart bodice is actually my favorite shape of dresses. I just find them to be so flattering for the bust. I'm trying to get into the habit of making things and actually coming up with a place to wear them. I have not yet decided where I'm actually going to wear this dress. I may not even wear it in time for Valentine's Day. It might just become a staple piece in my closet. This year I really want to create with intention, especially when it comes to clothes. So it's important for me to kind of figure out before I make something where I see myself wearing it before it becomes another piece that's just in my closet strictly for photos. So when I'm sewing this piece, I'm using a mixture of regular pins and wonder clips, but lately I really like wonder clips because it's easy to remove while sewing. So the view that I'm doing for this pattern has this really cute sheer fabric yoke, and so I went on Etsy and I bought this really cool bloody stained I guess mesh is what you call it. I think it's a mesh. I found it. I've actually had it in my wish list on Etsy for like quite a long time, but I couldn't find a reason to buy it until now. And so when I decided on making a Valentine's Day themed dress, I was just like, what if it was a bloody Valentine themed dress? And so that's how I decided to go ahead and finally hit the buy button on this mesh. And it's really, really cute. It's kind of reflective, so it has a little bit of shine. And I think that just adds to the uniqueness of this project. I also decided to add sleeves because in New York City it is still very, very cold, and so if I did go ahead and wear this on Valentine's Day, I did want a little bit more coverage. To sew the sleeves, I'm doing a French seam because this fabric is very delicate and very sheer, obviously, and so I really felt like a French seam would neaten the area. And I'm really happy that I did that because it looks so much cleaner in person, guys. And I hate French seams, but I'm now understanding the importance of doing it. I have to say, as I was making this dress, I was wondering, what does Mira's look like? Because we actually didn't do reveals to each other up until the very end. So, and as I'm working on this, I have no idea how mine is going to come out for one. So I was really like, oh my gosh, I wonder how her dress is coming out and what it's going to look like once it's done. So as of right now, I still don't know what her dress looks like. So I'm very excited to see it. And here's a close-up of that fabric. These are the sleeves, but you can really see how cool this mesh is. So now I'm just going ahead and continuing to attach things. I'm attaching the yoke to the bodice because I'm actually going to sandwich the yoke between the bodice and the lining. So before I get to working on the lining, I'm actually just going to go ahead and start working on the skirt. And the first part of that is attaching the pockets. I'm so happy that this pattern included pockets. I probably would have added pockets on my own either way, but it's just really nice to see pockets on dresses because girls, we don't get that. We never get that. And so I'm always excited to make something that has pockets, but especially a dress. I just feel like pockets complete a dress. I don't care what anyone says. So I'm happy that this one has pockets. Fun fact, pockets used to scare me. I used to find them so intimidating to do, but they are so straightforward and I don't even know what I was afraid of. But that's the really cool thing about sewing. I've been doing this for a long time and I still don't know how to do it because there's always so much for me to learn. So I feel like you never stop learning how to sew. You just learn new ways to do everything. So pockets are not something that scare me anymore. I'm really proud to say that in 2023. As I'm sewing, I'm also looking at my machine and I think it's really about time that I replace the faceplate on this machine with a different one. I've had the same Star Wars theme on it for such a long time. I think I'm going to swap it out for like another style of plate. The Star Wars plate is actually part of the reason why I bought this machine. I know that's not necessarily a good reason, but I really like Star Wars. So when I saw that there was a machine with a Star Wars theme, I had no choice. Truly, I had no choice, guys. Neat because the fabric that I'm using does fray, and to keep it from coming apart you do want to neaten those edges or finish them. I could have just used straight stitch on my machine, but I just find my serger just does it better, and that's really the reason I bought it, to keep my seams and stuff finished. Unless I'm sewing spandex, then I'll literally run that entire project through this machine, but here I'm just neatening the edges. The skirt, this is pretty self-explanatory if you've ever sewn a dress before, but I basically just sewed 2 rows of stitching and now I'm pulling on one of them to create that ruffled effect, which is another feature that I really like about this dress. I love gathered waistlines. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and attach the dress to the bodice. And this project comes together pretty quickly, which is why I picked it. It's definitely a nice beginner friendly project in my opinion. It teaches you a couple of different things when it comes to sewing a sweetheart bodice, how to gather fabric, how to use a zipper, how to sew a yoke. There's a lot that you can get out of a project, and that's kind of how I look at projects. I look at projects as, what can I learn from making it, or how can I test my current skills? And that's really what I love the most about sewing. I love learning something new and then just watching the lesson come together in the form of like a beautiful costume, or in this case, a beautiful dress. Also, another fun fact about me, when I'm sewing, I actually watch other YouTubers, not necessarily sewing YouTubers, but I'll watch video essays and stuff like that, or analog horror things. I think in this video, I was watching a Wendigoon video, which if you don't know who Wendigoon is, I think you definitely need to learn. He's a really cool creator. So here I'm really just gonna go ahead and repeat everything I did for the bodice for the lining. Same exact steps. Also, my lining does not match the inside of my dress because I'm also on a mission this year to get through my fabric stash. So that means using what I can when I can to get more out of it. So I decided to go with this gold China silk, I think it is. I decided to go with that. But because it's a lining, it won't be seen from the outside, which is the entire reason why I picked it. So now I'm just sandwiching that yoke between the lining and the bodice, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this sewn up. After sewing, I'm just gonna understitch. Understitching is important when you're sewing something with the lining because it just ensures that the lining doesn't show from the outside of the garment. Looks like I'm also trying to keep my insides neat because that is also something that I struggled with previously. So right here, I'm literally down to the wire. I'm just hemming the bottom of this dress. So we are quite literally almost done with it, which I'm super, super happy about. This was a really fun project and I'm excited to try it on, but mostly excited to show you guys how it came out. And excited to see Mira's too, because I know that she was cooking up something really cool. So I'm really excited to see how both of these dresses turned out. Yeah, so here's mine. It's cute and pink and red, and it goes perfect with me. And I thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more, just make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in my next one.